Good morning. Welcome to today's Daily Dharma. Today, I'd like to talk about three kinds of peace, or you could say three levels of peace, three types of peace. And it is the peace that corresponds with the three aspects of our practice. So in Pali, it would be sila, samadhi, and panya, or ethical conduct. For sila, samadhi, the training of the heart and mind to gather and settle and be present, be at rest, at ease. And then panya is the clear seeing, the seeing clearly into the truth of the way things are, or otherwise sometimes just known as wisdom, right? So these three aspects of the practice have their three corresponding kind of, I guess levels is a good word, of peace. Yeah. So in the level of sila, which is basically, it's how we move through this world. Sometimes it's said the wake that we leave as we live our lives, as basically as we speak and act, right? As we do actions, and the quality of that, right? Or you could sometimes said the reverberations of our speech and action, like what effect does it have, right? So this is the arena of sila. And when we speak and act in wholesome ways, ways basically non-harming, right? When we're not causing harm, when we're not making other people feel bad, not lying, not stealing, etc. When we're refraining from doing these things, there is a kind of peace that corresponds to the lack of agitation that comes from when we do lie and steal, right? When we go through life in that way, where we're not practicing non-harming, the heart and mind get agitated. To take an example, if we're lying, right? We say something and we know we're lying. It's just telling falsehoods. And then there's worry, right? Will they find out what's true? Who did I say that to? Who, how do I need to cover it up, etc. There starts to become agitation in the heart and the mind. And how much more so if we're doing actions, right, that are harmful. Not being full of care in our relationships, perhaps. and so the peace of our sila practice is the absence of the agitation that comes from doing harm, basically. And it's lovely. It's not big bells and whistles peace, but it's slightly joyful, and it's the lack of agitation is the best I can say it. So that's one level of peace, right? And of course, now these are going to be all connected, and that's part of the point here. When the heart and mind is peaceful, it's at rest in that way. When it's not agitated, then much easier or supportive for the practice of samadhi, of gathering the heart and the mind, letting it settle, training it to not be so dispersed and scattered. Yeah, start to unify and settle around an object. Usually we use one object, like the breath or the body. And then when that's happening, so based on the foundation of peace, of sila, then the peace of samadhi, the mind that is really settled, quite at rest. There are quite a range of samadhi, from like this little nascent samadhi to very, very deep levels of concentration. But they all have a corresponding sense of deep and deepening ease, peace, stillness with them. So there's that level of peace based on the level of sila. And then based on the level of peace, um, and here's the word steadiness comes in, right? So something that's still, right? Peaceful, still, calm. Um, by definition, it's not moving, right? It's not moving about. So based on that piece, that non-movement or steadiness of mind is then that what becomes supportive conditions for then to start to see clearly. Because all we have to do is look and look sometimes in a sustained way. And if we look, we'll see. We have the capacity to see for sure. It's just we need to be able to look without, being jostled around. So based on the peace of samadhi, then clear seeing starts to happen. We start to see how this world works, how suffering is caused, how it's released, what gives rise to happiness. We see the three characteristics. We start to kind of see, oh, this realm is like this. And to the degree that we see clearly, then is to the degree that we start to become congruent with how things are. We're not fighting. We're not trying to find happiness where it can't be found. We're not demanding that things be static when they're always changing, etc. We stop fighting basically with how it is, and then that becomes the deepest peace. The lack of agitation from the pushing and pulling and demanding that life be the way we want it to. That is really, some of the deepest, apprehending nibbana, right, would be the deepest, but just in terms of, let's say, not that, in terms of sila, samadhi, and panya, the panya being this deepest piece, because it's not so reliant on anything. It's just okay. It's okay. There's not a problem. Things can be like this, it's not a problem. Things can be like that, it's not a problem. It's not so dependent the way the peace of sila and samadhi are dependent on things. So it's a much more stable, a much deeper, much wider peace, this piece of panya, of wisdom or clear seeing. So we have these three kind of levels of peace, all intertwined, right? They feed into one another, by the way. And then that piece of panya and that clear seeing sees even clearer how important sila is, and how suffering happens. And of course, we don't want to harm ourselves by harming others. So it loops back, and then the sila deepens even more, which gives rise to deeper samadhi, and the whole thing keeps looping. Yeah, so we have these levels of peace that give rise to and end up supporting one another. So it's just a kind of a nice way to frame our practice as just different levels of deepening peace in the heart and mind. So let's go ahead and do some of the formal practice that is so helpful in cultivating all three areas of this peace. Relaxing into the body to start, not as a demand, not demanding our body to relax, just an intention. Start to connect with the body somatically, feel it. And this feeling the body and this relaxation of the body they'll go hand in hand. They'll support one another and deepen one another. Even just this initial kind of piece of the body starting to settle energetically, just starting to settle. And we can be present for that. What does that feel like for peace or calm to start to arise in the body? A sense of the energy in the body settling as we let go of tension. Maybe not so dissimilar to the way silt in a glass of muddy water, when left alone, when given the opportunity, would settle to the bottom, it would settle downwards. So perhaps this feeling of settling downwards, but also perhaps widening. See if that might be so for you as the body relaxes. Does it also sort of widen and open a little bit, especially the front of the body? We can start to move closer with our attention to the body by noticing the contact points with the body and what's below it. Just being clear about what it is that we feel. Is it pressure, heaviness, hardness, softness? Maybe more temperature starts, becomes apparent, maybe warmth or coolness. Moving to other areas of contact that the body has with itself, like where the hands are touching, or if you're sitting cross-legged, where the legs may be touching one another. Nothing special that we're supposed to feel, only that we feel, that we are establishing this very direct connection to the body through feeling it. We drop down below the level of concept. My body's like this, like that, it's short, it's tall, it's whatever. Judging it, it's attractive, it's not attractive, it's no, it's just like this moment of sensations. And so we can feel the growing calm, ease. The body relaxes, settles, and becomes steady and still. Through that relaxation and settling, the body becomes peaceful. Maybe we open our attention a little more to feel the whole body, feel it all at once. So even seeing if you can feel sensations in areas where the body isn't touching something. We really relax into this. The more we're relaxed, the more the sensations and the more subtle sensations, kind of the energetic ones, are apt to be noticed. Maybe we tune into like tingling or buzzing, vibrating, even maybe in places in the body where it's not touching something. Letting the attention rest with this experience of calm body. And to the degree that that can happen, then because the mind isn't wandering about, being pushed and pulled by desire and aversion for these moments of connecting with the body, it too starts to become a little peaceful. Not only that, but the object that it's connecting with is itself peaceful. So it kind of takes on that quality a bit. And we start to get the nascent aspect of body mind unification. Just both experiencing a bit of ease or peace. This is the peace of samadhi. Just meditating for a few minutes, certainly not deep samadhi, but just a very nascent form of it. Body is resting at ease to some degree at least, and at least for some moments, perhaps a few in a row, mind is resting with that experience of ease in the body. Thank you for your practice of cultivating peace. What a gift to the world. As you go about your daily life, it can just be helpful to reflect a little bit, like kind of just lean into and notice the peace of sila. Because again, it's more the absence of what's present But you can reflect on that. It's like, oh, no one's kind of like coming after me, or, you know, uh, yeah, no one's after me because I've done something that was hurtful to them, or, I lied to them or whatever, or yeah, I'm not having to worry about, covering up a lie, or gee, you know, I have been careful or full of care with my relationships. Um, and, I'm not worried about that this person's going to find out something I said or did that I don't want them to. Or, the absence of that is like, ah. And sometimes um, we kind of don't notice it just because it's not a thing, right? It's the absence of something. And it'd just be good to reflect on that. It's actually a meditation instruction, like before you sit to meditate, there's things like reflecting on the qualities of the Buddha, or reflecting on one's own generosity. But one of them is reflecting on one's sila, right? One's wholesome conduct, because when we do kind of connect with it, it's like not in a ego where I'm so great, but it's just, it brightens the heart and mind. It's like, this is nice. This is a nice way to move through life. So you can perhaps take a little time and do that, reflect on it. Okay, friends, that's it for today. Nice to have you. Nice to spend the time with you. I hope your day goes as well as can be. Um, I'll be back at some point next week, and so I wish you well till then. Okay, bye.